Good morning and welcome to your TVC News here in Clarence-Rockland. It's Friday the 15th of January. My name is Thomas Stockting and thank you for joining me as we bring you your latest regional update. In your headlines this week, new restrictions in place in Ontario as residents are told to work from home, but confusion still reigns. Vaccine rollout begins, businesses suffering through a second lockdown. We chat with Mayor Desjardins, Beau's All Natural Brewing Company receive a federal grant, and a catch-up with the Help Centre team. Work from home is the latest message from the provincial government. Facing the media on Monday, Premier Doug Ford declared a state of emergency in the province that will last at least a month and urged everyone to stay home when possible.
I need you to do your part. Stay home, save lives, protect our healthcare system. The system is on the brink of collapse. It's on the brink of being overwhelmed. We're at levels we've never seen before. Last week I stood here and I told you that our province is in crisis, and the facts are clear. Cases and deaths are at the highest levels since the start of the pandemic, and community spread continues to escalate. The dangerous and very dangerous UK strain of COVID is being found across the province. Ontario had 8 new cases confirmed today. And if we don't move fast, our hospital ICUs could be overwhelmed by the first week of February.
There is still great confusion surrounding all of these new restrictions, and here at TVC 22 we will do our best in the coming weeks to help explain how they relate to our area. In the latest data released by the EOHU, the Eastern Ontario Health Unit, over 50% of all active cases in Eastern Ontario have come from close contacts. In other words, socialising. Dr. Roumelitotis was asked whether it was time to stop pushing educating the people and start enforcing the restrictions.
We are actively talking with our enforcement officers to look at that. We're trying again right now to look at some of those businesses that I talked to you about that we have to revisit. But unfortunately, some of the stuff that's going on is people getting together at home or that we can't see, so we can't enforce that. So we still have to have the educational point of view, and where appropriate, we need to have enforcement. So one of the things that we had recommended, and I'm not sure if the government is going to go for this, is really ability to perhaps stop people, and say how far, why you're outside, those type of things. But again, you're kind of stepping into people's freedoms. But on the other hand, we need to have a bit more enforcement moving forward, particularly when we have, if, for example, tomorrow they ban all public outings or public things like that. We have been working with our partners in enforcement already. We do have some issues with businesses that don't comply and so on. So we have to continue doing that. But again, you can have as much enforcement as you can, but if people are getting together, other people's homes, we don't see that, then it's very hard for us. We're worried at the local level, but we're also worried at the provincial level, and so that's why I'd like to be able to again ask people as much as possible: stay home, don't go out, don't travel. Do not go out unless it's necessary. Take care if you have to work, obviously. Make sure that you have the proper precautions. We're going to look at all those blind spots as well.
Okay, and in those numbers that the new numbers.
Certain regions surrounding the Greater Toronto area have been told that they will continue online learning in schools until the 11th of February. However, locally, it would seem that the return to class will happen sooner, despite a surprising figure to come out of Monday's press briefing by the EOHU. Dr. Roumelitotis explained that the age group with the highest positivity rate in recent weeks was the 12 to 13-year-olds, leading to further questions about whether or not schools should resume in-class learning.
Well, I can tell you that those were acquired outside of school. And so most of the cases that we saw in school, and these as well, because a lot of these that we saw in our area as well in that age group occurred really right after, when there wasn't school. So this was acquired over the holidays. And obviously the more people you bring into schools with positive cases, or percolating a case, right? And then that's one of the reasons that we didn't want to open the schools, not because we thought the schools would propagate it, but what would happen is if we have a lot of kids going, then we'd have to go in and a positive case here, positive case there, particularly if staff were positive. What we had seen pre-holidays is that a couple of schools had to close, not because they had an overwhelming number of cases. It's because the staff, for example, one individual would come in, they'd have lunch together, and they would, potentially have 5 or 8, sometimes higher, high-risk contacts that had to be isolated. And because there were so many people absent, they had to close the school down, not because there was a lot of outbreaks, that's because of those things. So you can imagine the amount of disruption that we would have with these number of cases going into the school or developing in the school, something that they picked up from outside. So if you just multiply that, you can see how chaotic and difficult and disruptive it would be. So I think in retrospect, it was a good decision that the kids stay at home. I know that there are, consequences, particularly difficulties for single mothers and daycare and those type of things. But on the other hand, it's a lot of disruption for the classrooms. And imagine if we only had, several cases at a time in our schools. I think when I last saw the numbers, we were at something like 40 cases in 25 schools or something like that, since the beginning. And now I know that I've seen the age ranges, and there's a lot of them. And I haven't even been able to look at that, but I'm sure there are people that would go back and work, or that have been exposed and go back. So I think at this point, with those numbers so high, again, we always say it. And it's not a coincidence, by the way, that we're now starting to see increases of outbreaks, for example, in long-term care facilities, because we're seeing high levels of community. It's going to be transferred into those facilities, including long-term care and schools.
We have some great news in the region though, as long-term care residents and staff began receiving Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines this week. A distribution plan is now in place when phase 1 of the vaccine rollout has begun, prioritising individuals who are at higher risk of being exposed to the virus or developing serious illness from catching it. The distribution plan is broken down into 3 phases, with long-term care and medical sectors the first to receive the vaccines. In phase 2, it will be rolled out to essential workers and then the older population, before finally in phase 3 being distributed to the rest of the eligible population in the province. We will do our best to bring you as much as we can on the vaccine rollout, availability and distribution in Clarence-Rockland, as well as throughout Prescott-Russell in the coming weeks. The second lockdown will be felt as a large strain for most of us, but those taking the biggest hit are the businesses that have been suffering since the pandemic began last March. We caught up with a local business owner, Mr. Mike Cook, to talk about the way in which he has adapted his business to these COVID restrictions over the last 12 months, as well as his thoughts on the second lockdown.
I think we kind of ended up shifting things a little bit. So we kind of pivoted and offered grocery sales when we first opened back up. So that got us a whole bunch of new clients that that I hadn't had the chance to meet, that we're happy to not have to go into a grocery store at the time, because grocery stores were insane and there was all sorts of stock issues. And I was lucky enough to be able to get some product from our suppliers, and so we had lots of support with that. Lots of our regulars have supported us throughout things, which I'm very thankful for.
Well, that's great. I mean, like, what kind of adaptation did you have to do within the restaurant to be able to turn it into almost like a makeshift grocery store?
You know what? It was mainly just figuring out where to put everything, because we were bringing in, we were doing veggie bags and fruit bags for a little bit. We were bringing in a ton of extra things like chicken, way more than we would typically bring in. So we were selling boxes of chicken and boxes of bacon. just different items like that are, staples for a lot of people that they keep in the house.
Yeah, so sticking to the food front, you didn't stock up with toilet roll for people then?
Yeah, no, we were, that went pretty quick. So we were unable, even through our suppliers, to get a hold of that. And yeah, that was pretty nuts.
So as we saw, there was that little bit of recovery over the summer. As you said, like Broadway Bar and Grill, you made this adaptation. You moved towards maybe, like as you said, providing some groceries for people, which was a great way to support the community as well as keeping yourselves afloat in a very different manner, abiding by restrictions. But then the unfortunate happened, which is, as we all expected, a second wave in September. It took a little bit longer to hit, but we've had to have this new lockdown over the Christmas period. And a Christmas period for many, as you say, about looking at the beginning of 2020, January, February sales were very strong because it's a time of year where restaurants normally do sell a fair amount. There's this popularity to go out and wine and dine over the festive period. So how have you taken it as a business, having to shut down again?
It's definitely not something that we had, that we had hoped for. I guess we had somewhat planned things a little bit, just hearing the news and it was coming and all that stuff. But we're doing what we can right now. We're looking to revamp our online ordering system, and we had online ordering for our grocery items. And we're actually looking to add our whole food menu onto there to make it for our guests. We were pretty lucky throughout the summer and throughout the fall that we've got a strong base of regulars that, like I said, that have supported us throughout everything. So we were hoping to really keep going with that and not have another lockdown. Especially as it's unfortunate, but doesn't seem like the numbers really show that the restaurants are what was causing a lot of the spread. You know what? I do realize that we're all in this together, and everybody's got to do their part to try to curb things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what my own views and opinions are with things. I've got to abide by the rules, and hopefully. As much as some guests might not be happy with the rules, and they'll vent about things a little bit. As long as they realize that we're just trying to do, what the government is mandating on us as well. I know that's been a big challenge for businesses.
It beat me to the punch a little bit there, in the sense that I was going to ask you, I know there's quite a lot of controversy, especially within like the owners in side of the service industry, where maybe statistics don't really show. And I know the EOHU are coming out with some more statistics this week, specifically about the areas that are considered more hotspots, where the higher level of transmission are. So I was going to sort of ask you to touch on that a little bit. Do you agree with the idea of restaurants locking down, or do you feel like it's just maybe a step too far?
It's tough to say at this point. It's, I want to do my part and not, expose anyone, and I'll go about everything like that. But at the same time, my business is suffering because of it. So, I don't like it from that aspect. I kind of wish there was a little more of a set plan towards the whole lockdown thing, where, it seems like it's the huge corporations are not so affected compared to the small business.
Now, if you operate a business locally and you've been hit by these hard times and you would like to tell your story, we would love to hear from you. So please get in touch. And to everyone watching, continue to keep supporting all of these local shops. Now, a new year, with it comes new opportunities, but it also gives us time to reflect on the year that has been. We spoke to Mayor Guy Desjardins about some of his 2020 highlights, as well as the municipality's priorities for 2021.
Well, I think one of the highlights is that I've learned so many things that I never thought I'd learn on a computer. And when they say you can teach an old dog new tricks, well, it's true. They taught me some new tricks. But we had the 2 fire halls that are finally completed, which is a nice asset for the municipality. the two places were old, not really up to the standards that we need because the way we are growing. And it was a question of either building two new ones or pulling a fourth one. I don't think with a new one, we were pretty well centered in Rockland. And in Bourget, well, it was one of the oldest fire stations. And if anybody had seen it, it was just 4 cement block walls and a couple of doors. And when you close the door, you had to make sure that the truck was right back to the next wall in the back because the door wouldn't close. So we had to get with and then at the same time, we got a better service with the ambulance service because in both places now we have ambulances that can serve the municipality much better. And at the same time, we were able to take over the ambulance station from the county, which was given to us for $1, which was a great asset for us. Whereas community service are now fixing the piece of land next door, and that will be where the department will be going on for storage, trucks, and all this. Because if we think of service community, there's always all kinds of machinery and stuff, and we didn't have all the room for them. And even where we were now, it wasn't the proper building because they couldn't have lunch in the place they were. So this is going to put us up to date on the whole thing. So it was items that was very good.
If we cast our minds maybe forward now, maybe a little bit less towards the idea of the pandemic and the sadness and the difficulties we've all had to put up with. We know that there's some projects with some pins in it, as you stated earlier, but looking towards 2021, what are some of the municipalities' priorities for this year in terms of projects and things like that?
Well, there's a lot of infrastructure. Last year, it was kind of slowed down. Some of the money was put in reserve to be used this year. There's big projects, I know on Laurier Street and all this, big culverts again. The last few years, we've been stuck with a few culverts that have cost close to $1 million each, in the back, all over the place. It's one of those things. These culverts are inspected by the federal government, considered as bridges when they get to a certain size. So it's a lot of money being put into this. But we also have a water treatment plant that is coming along. As you know, we're spending $21 million on that project on Industrial Avenue. That's going to go on this summer. We also have the water project. We're going to be supplying water to Limoges. People are saying, well, why should we supply? We've got all kinds of water. We're next to the river. It's some of the best water. Limoges has no water. Somebody said, well, you're going to help competition build more houses next to us. It's a question of neighbors. We've got to help our neighbors. And it's an advantage for both of us. We're getting a revenue from this. We're not giving the water away. We're giving a revenue. And plus, any maintenance, major maintenance, because there's always a lot of major maintenance on these water system pumps and all these stations. And a good percentage, which will be affected in Limoges, will be paid out too. They will pay a percent. So we will be saving money plus making a revenue on it. So, and it's going to be a big project because it's going to leave Cheney and at the same time supply many of our residents that are on that line with water from the municipality, because there's a lot of areas on Indian Creek which have the water's not that good, or the water is not plentiful on a dry summer. So it will help them, and at the same time making their the value of their land much better. So when you have municipal water, so that I made sure that our people would get supplied by this. At the same time, I think the same water main will be supplying it's a new building that is being built in Forêt-la-Rose off Indian Creek it'll be a place where you can rent bicycles and all this to go through the La Rose Forest, bringing more people, more business in our area. So it's going to be quite advantageous. It's quite amazing how busy. La Rose Forest is another place where if you wanted something to do, there's all kinds of trails. We have La Vigne Park in Bourget, which is a nice area for cross-country ski. There's all openings that you can go to on weekends and stuff. Lots of areas. If you don't find enough area in La Rose Forest, well, you have a problem. It's quite big, easy to get lost in.
Over the next couple of weeks, TVC 22 will be taking the work from home opportunity to catch up with a different councillor every Friday, beginning next week with Samuel Cardarelli of Ward 1. As we move through these wards and seek out the biggest stories, your input will be invaluable. So please contact us about any questions, queries and worries you might have about your local area. Now, just before Christmas, MP Francis Drouin announced that $200,000 in federal investment was being given to 3 agri-transformation businesses in the Prescott-Russell region. One of the companies to receive a portion of the funding was Beau's All Natural Brewing Company. And we spoke to the company's CEO, Steve Beauchesne, to find out what their $50,000 would be spent on and what else the company are looking forward to in 2021.
Sure thing. So Beau's has been sending our beer that we brew in Bank Hill. When it gets canned, we've been sending it to Toronto to get canned. And this investment is going to allow us to finance the purchase of a full small canning line, which will allow us to do more of the actual packaging of our beer in Prescott-Russell. So it'll create a few new jobs, and it'll keep our beer a little bit fresher as well. Because when we send beer to Toronto, we have to send it in tanker loads. And for a lot of our smaller, more niche products, the actual sales are not justifying necessarily that much. So being able to package smaller runs will keep the beer fresher for our fans, and it'll help us employ some extra people, and should be a great thing for everybody.
Beau's 2021. I mean, the answer to this question seems to be the same whatever business you speak to. But what are you guys hoping for? What are your aspirations for this year?
Well, obviously, this investment that we're getting is going to be a big deal for us. Being able to do more of our packaging on site in Bank Hill it's good for our beer. It's good for our community. So that's really big news for us. We've got some really cool beers that we're in development on, and a couple really cool beers that we actually just released. So we very recently released our Lug Tread 2.5, which is really tasty and low alcohol, which seems like it's impossible, but we managed it. And this coming year, we've got a few other projects that are going to be really cool when they launch. From a sort of overall business perspective, we're anticipating that this is not going to fix itself in the short term. So we're prepared to survive through the pandemic as long as it lasts, and we'll be very excited to thrive when it's over. But you kind of right now we're just being cautious. And we've found a way to kind of still have fun, still have an impact in the community, but we're not taking kind of big risks right now because it's there's just too much uncertainty in the year ahead.
The uncertainty for the next 12 months is being felt by everyone as purse strings are tightened across the country. Locally, as we reported last year, the food bank and their guignolé raised a staggering number in excess of $50,000 for families in need, thanks to the very generous donations of you, the community. We spoke to the president and vice president of the Help Centre, André Perrat and Nicole Goll, as they expressed their gratitude.
Thank God for that virtual fundraiser. This helped us so many ways. We could help the families with Christmas coupons, or they call it food vouchers, and also all the children received big gifts. You should have seen Madame Marcel's team working on those gifts. They're absolutely wonderful. It was difficult. It was COVID. It was protocol. It was hard for the families too, so thank you to all the families who respected that protocol and to protect themselves and our volunteers. The volunteers were they were working hard, but they loved it. We had a great time doing it. And we served over 300 families for Christmas, and 250 children received all these beautiful gifts. And it's continuing. The COVID is not finished. Listen to just Ontario, what you just said. We're back into protocol, severe protocol. So it's going to increase again. People are going to be losing their job. We needed that money to continue that help. And we are there to help. We have started already. We're giving out the food that they need. Yesterday was full. We did it again. You need help, you call at the center at 613-446-7594, and we will respond to you. We will tell you exactly how to get your food. People come, they're outside, they're in their car, no people contact. When they do their menu, they give it inside. The inside work prepares all the orders for you, and then it's put in the trunk of your car or the back door of your car seat. So to protect ourselves and protect you, okay? So don't worry about protocol. We are here watching this, and we are sure that we don't want to get anybody in trouble with the COVID. So if you need help, call us. We're there for you.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic effort by the community, wasn't it? And you were just saying then about how we're back into these severe protocols, yes. And the Christmas period is obviously a very important time. People want to get those big meals together to celebrate the end of the year. But it's not just Christmas, is it?
It's not only Christmas, it's year-round. And this year, particularly, we had a hard year. It was difficult. Our church store was closed for about 4 months, 5 months in the spring. And we needed that help, and no guignolé, that means lots of items that we never got. So, and the stores, well, I mean, you have to give them thanks too. Don't forget that our merchants here have been very good for us. They were selling those bags at $10 and $20. Oh my God, that was incredible. And all the plastic bags are new, and it's all given by them. We don't have to pay for that at least. So all that money is really used 100% to buy food. And that's what we do with it.
And as we stand here on a cold morning in January, what are the next steps for the Centre d'Aide? Where are we heading next? What's going on?
Well, we have to wait. I don't have any crystal ball. I don't know where this COVID is going. But I can tell you we're going to respect everything that we do, and we're going to stay open, and we will not quit. That's what we're here for. We don't know either. We get worried sometimes too, you know. We don't know how we're going to manage, but we always find a way. We will find ways. We have a team that's absolutely fantastic. We have people here, the truckers, the guys, the inside, the volunteers. You know, they don't quit. Nobody quits, and they're all the same since the beginning. So we were able to save their health and save their strength. So thank you to all of my volunteers. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being there to help us help them.
And Nicole, I think it's right to say that even though you are thanking absolutely everyone, I think I can speak for the community in saying thank you for all your efforts as well, and best of luck for this year.
Thank you very much. We need to have some prayers say to us, and you've helped us with your money, but it's not over. COVID is not over. We're not rich yet. So we're still going to need help all year round. So thank you to all our community. They were really fantastic for us. Every time we ask for their help, they're there. They've been there, and the municipality as well. Don't forget that they're good to us, very good to us. All these guys delivered in the beginning, and they're always calling us to say, we're on deck. You need us, we're there. So that's we're grateful for that.
So that's it for this edition of TVC News. If you want to hear a little more from the interviews in this or any of our previous programs, you can watch most of them in a longer format on our YouTube channel. Just look for TVC 22. And why don't you act on one of those New Year's resolutions and try something new this year, as we're constantly on the lookout for volunteers and civilian journalists. So please, if you're interested in getting involved, then get in touch with the station. And if there's a story locally that you think needs more attention, then please let me know. You can contact me by email at nouvelle with an S at the end at tvc22.ca, or by phone at 613-446-6037 on extension number 4. Or of course, in the more of a 21st century fashion, you can find me and any of the team on our social media channels. Have a lovely weekend, Clarence-Rockland. Stay as safe as possible, stay home, and I'll catch you next week. Goodbye.